Yo, what's going on, guys? DJS here, collectivekicks.com. Wanted to bring you guys a video today and have a little discussion point on the Jordan sneaker bubble, and has it actually burst finally, no pun intended. But basically, we have a lot of Jordan retros sitting on shelves in recent times, and a lot of people probably would have anticipated some of those retros to be selling out. This one included the Aqua Air Jordan 8s, and as well as the Bordeaux restock that Nike had, that actually had these in stock, and they sat for days and days and days for like one of the best colorways, my favorite colorway of the Air Jordan 7. So I kind of came up with a top five reasons of why I think that the sneaker bubble did burst or is bursting, and then what does that mean for Jordan brand, really. I'll cover that at the end. But this is just my opinion and my viewpoint on it. Don't take it as a professional. I'm a consumer, a mass consumer at that, as you guys already know. But I'm also a fan of Jordan brand and a fan of the products. So it's kind of like one of those fun videos to discuss, because I am passionate about sneakers. I'm passionate about my Jordan brand sneakers. I have quite a few. And I don't know, just an overall fun discussion, I think, to have. But just throwing that as a disclaimer, it's not a complaint necessarily. It's just me and my observation. And 5 and 10 years ago, this wasn't really an issue. Different time back then. We didn't have Twitter like 10 years ago or whatever. At least I don't think we did. I don't think it's 10 years old, is it? And things just were done differently back then. So fast forward to modern times, things have to adapt, and things are the way they are. And I think that there's a lot to kind of discuss around this. So let's go ahead and get into my top 5 reasons. All right, guys, so number 5 on the list would be quality. I think that we expected a remastered year with the Jordan brand line, and every pair was going to be remastered, and it was going to be glorious, and we'd see really nice quality leather on them and stuff. But what I found is it's been very inconsistent. It's like we don't know which ones are going to actually get really high quality leather on them, or decent quality leather, versus the ones that like look like this, in a sense. And I'm not bashing these, I actually like these, but still, at the end of the day, look at the quality of the leather, and then you look at, I mean, it looks like this is what I've been calling McDonald's leather. Like, it looks, and it looks flawless in a sense, which is, this is what Jordan brand wanted, right? Because they want it to sit up in the shelves and look like this, where it doesn't have a lot of flaws and character to it. But I think that in itself is a flaw, because it doesn't have the character like these would from all of the leather, the ripples and stuff. And I mean, this is a prime example of market confusion, where you're buying an Air Jordan 1, and unless you watch these YouTube videos, like, it's really hard to tell. I mean, you can tell if you see them in person and stuff, but unless you actually see them in person or see them up close, it's really hard to tell like what you're getting. And I know a lot of you guys appreciate the videos for that reason, because you don't want to go spend the money on something if you don't know if the quality. And half the time, a shoe will release, like the Cyber Mondays, it was like, well, how's the quality on them? It's hard to tell. Filter jig on the pictures. Is it backboard quality? Is it like what type of quality is the leather on them? And I think that's, again, one of the biggest things, the fact that it's, yes, we got improved leather, but it's so inconsistent that it makes a confusing market to determine whether you're going to buy a pair of shoes or not. Like these, I think if these had perfect quality or really high quality leather, the demand for these would be a lot higher. Now, this is the 1.5 version of the breads, and it's identical looking except for the midsole, which has a really cool story, as I did a video on those already. But the leather quality is like mediocre. I mean, it's not like the leather quality of this or the Chicago ones is definitely an improvement. And I mean, even these ones are pretty good comparison. Pretty good, like, quality leather on these. But it's definitely not, again, it's not consistent. And because of that, that is definitely one of the top reasons why I think that Nike took a hit, or Jordan brand took a hit on the market this year. So number 4 reason is because I think that they made too many pairs. So there's 3 main key reasons, really: too many, too much, and too often. And I'll get into the other 2 in a second. This one I'm going to focus on too many. I think that they've made too many pairs, starting with the holiday releases last year, that they ended up having a random quote-unquote restock on these, which I'm glad actually they had, because I ended up getting another pair. But they made so many pairs. They had to have peaked 500,000 pairs of these. They did the same thing with these ones, and by the time the restock hit, it just ended up not selling out. So I think that is a big factor, the fact that they're just making too many pairs of the shoes, these ones as well, they're still available on Nike.com, I believe, at the time of this video. And it's a fantastic shoe. The resale on these were upwards of $450 a year ago, 2 years ago, before we knew that these were actually going to be retroing this year. So the fact of the matter is, the demand is really high on the shoe. It's just not as high as the amount of pairs that they made. It's obviously, I mean, I've said it many times in the past, but supply and demand, like, they're making too many pairs, so the demand goes low. And this is part of the reason why I think that too many pairs affects the overall perception of the shoe being a successful shoe or not. Now, whether or not it's really successful is to be argued. Like, personally, I think it's not a bad thing that you can go into the store and buy these things, because it gives you the opportunity to buy something that maybe other people are passing on. And 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the Raging Bull Pack is a prime example. I walked in, or I didn't walk in, I went online and just randomly bought the pair. I mean, some of the countdown packs that are located down there, some of those things sat on shelves and actually were discounted depending on the pack. So it's definitely a supply and demand sort of thing, and the fact that they were making too many pairs definitely made consumers notice the fact that they weren't selling out. All right, so I already mentioned that there was too many pairs made of a lot of the Jordan Retro general releases, but also there were just too much. The price point was just too insane for a lot of people, and you can see right here on the box, $190 for an Air Jordan Retro. That has been consistent throughout the year, and the price point of $190 is a bump up significantly from the last handful of years. Air Jordan 3s that you can see, or that you can't see, but they're right up there. Those ones are $150 on the box price. So a box price of $190 cuts into the resellers' pockets, as we already know. And as a result, they're not buying them to flip, because there's no profit margin. After shipping, after eBay fees, PayPal fees, transaction fees, or whatever else it might be, they might make $20 on a pair of shoes. And when you're spending $200 or $190 on a pair of shoes, a $20, $15, $40 profit is a lot to risk. The risk didn't equal the reward at the price point of $190 when they're making a ton of sneakers. So I think that's kind of one of the other factors. Love them or hate them, the resellers definitely have a place on the market for some of the sneakers, and as a result, they were not risking to buy at the $190 price point. Plus, the mom and pops out there trying to buy the sneakers for their kids, they don't want to spend $190 on a pair of sneakers either. And granted, they will buy them one here and there, but they're not going to buy them every weekend, which leads me to the next point. So the next point is that they release them too often. So we have too many pairs on the market, we have too much money per pair, and then we have them released too often. The fact that they're released like every weekend, there's a Jordan release, there's a LeBron release, there's a Kobe release, blah, blah, blah. It's just overkill, with the fact that if you don't catch this retro and you don't catch this retro, it's okay. You can still spend $190 this month by catching the next retro that's going to be dropping the week after. So the fact of the matter is, there's just too many pairs to choose from, and it used to be once a month that they would drop a shoe. Now it's once every week, and if you figure once every week, that's literally 3 times as many pairs of Jordans dropped. And actually, I'd love to see an analysis. I'm sure Campless has something of, this is the amount of Jordans that dropped in 2014, this is the amount that dropped in 2015, and I don't know, I think that combined, you'll see that there's significantly more that's dropped this year than there has been in the past, and in different variations. We have the low top 1s, we have the low top this, that, and the next 13s. Next year there's a low top 5s, and the low top 6s have been dropping. So they're kind of mixing and matching the fact that if you didn't buy the flagship, you could buy the low top version that's kind of less sought after, or the one that I already showed you, the 1.5 version, or a mix and match kind of other option, but it adds another level of options for people to buy, and that many more pairs kind of on the market. So that's another reason why I think too many, too much, too often, and then the quality, and then I'll get into the last one right now. So the last reason I wanted to talk about is because of competition. And as you can see, we have other brands out here. We have the Yeezy, Adidas, some Sauconys, some New Balance, some Asics. There's a lot of competition on the market out there now that are competing for the weekend releases. All-Star Weekend, when the Yeezy 750 first dropped, definitely took some shine away from the Mirror Foamposites, as well as Black Friday. There was Pusha T's drop that ended up happening from Adidas, and that one sold out instantly. So, and that ties up the capital. So if they wanted these ones and the Pusha T's, they went with the pushers because these ones still ended up in stock, and then they ended up getting the pushes since those were more limited. So some of the other brands out there are kind of thriving off of some of the limited market as well. Now, I understand Nike's a big fish, and these guys, you know, they're not that big. But if you think about it from like a market perspective, look at Microsoft versus Apple years and years ago, before Apple just dominated the market. Now, it didn't just happen like that. Like Microsoft scoffed at the fact that Apple was actually competition, and they looked at Apple as like a niche market comparison to Microsoft, who served everything. I think that Jordan Brand and Nike has that approach possibly right now, where they think that they're untouchable. But then look at what Kanye has done with this line. Not just this shoe, anything that's sort of resembles the shoe that Adidas produces. The Ultra Boost is an example. They are selling out of so many things because Kanye wore something. So there's influence there that dominates the market, from selling the flagship shoe down to whatever he might wear to whatever might resemble. The Tubular X is an example. It kind of resembles a Yeezy sole in a sense. Prime knit uppers. So the fact that there is a ripple effect there from something that as a limited drop, Nike knows this already. They drop a flagship and then drop a low top model and this and that. They have a really successful line with a couple different artists now, Adidas does. And so I think that the competition right now is growing. It's not obviously, I mean, Nike owns the market, but the competition is growing, and the gap will slowly decrease. I mean, same thing with like the iPhone market. The market for the iPhone has like, I don't know. I don't know that market well enough to even speak to it, unfortunately. I'm an idiot for bringing it up. But I feel it's like everybody has iPhones now, comparison to before. And I switched over at the iPhone 4. Before that, I was an Android guy. So it's one of those markets where there is a dominant player, and that is Nike and Jordan Brand. But the competition is stepping up to the plate, making some head like way to making some great products and some limited releases as well that are generating a lot of hype and taking away from the purchases that would otherwise go to Nike. And then those shoes are ended up sitting, which kind of is a bad look in this kind of consumer day and age market. So the ending question, I guess, is Jordan Brand dead? And what is the next steps from here for Jordan Brand? I say no, absolutely not. Jordan Brand's not dead. I think that this 2015 year was a test to the market. I bet you they'll make some adjustments to 2016 as a response to the 2015 year. That's what they did in 2013 as well, when they had the Air Jordan 5s. The leather quality was horrible on them, and then they stepped up the quality this year. Prices were too high. They released too many. Had too many releases. Maybe they'll cut out some of the releases this next year. Maybe what I'm anticipating is they'll do what they did with these, and they'll release them and then have half a stock or a quarter of a stock still, and then then restock them towards the end of the year. Like, I have a feeling they're going to be playing a lot of strategies with kind of that aspect of like, oh, here's a quote unquote restock, and then have like a real like huge backlog, not just a bunch of returns or whatever, like a real backlog of the shoes to create that hype twice on the same sneaker. The other thing is, I think that they're going to do things like this, where, I mean, this proves that Jordan Brand can drop anything, sell out, even if the resale market doesn't respond to it. But they had this like a PE Chris Paul Air Jordan 13 for like $225 or whatever that was, and they released it. They have collaborations that they're going to be dropping, or that they could be dropping. The Don C's or the Supremes, super hype on those things. The OVO. But back to the PEs, I think that at any point, any sample that we've seen and love, my Tokyo sample with the yellow toes, Nike could embrace, or Jordan Brand could embrace that and sell those like to market, just like they did the Thunder 4s. They could release the Lightning 4s. There's so many options that Jordan Brand could do and go in that direction that will generate hype that it's literally limitless at this point, because they have so many retros that they've dropped, and so many fun stories that can build off of, and so many PEs that have dropped that could generate hype if you can own a pair. So So basically, I don't think that the hype on Jordan Brand is dead. I think that they can reinvent themselves 1,000 ways over, and people will like jump to the opportunities to be able to buy their sneakers at $200 or whatever else it might be. It might be more selective depending on the products that they ended up dropping. But I have a feeling that I mean they're going to have a lot of releases that are going to sit, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because it will give those other people that didn't get the flagship colorway of X, Y, or Z, but they could get that, which is the same model of the shoe. I have a feeling like that has value add to people out there all over the place, and I mean it gives us options as well for those of us that just really love the sneakers. I mean, this is one that people hated, and I thought this is one of the best retros of the 7 that came out this year. I just really liked the Marvin the Martian kind of vibe that this one had, how it complemented the Hair 7 so much. It was like the you know, the opposite of the Hair 7s almost. I thought that was really dope. But you know, hit or miss, like there's going to be some consumers that gravitate towards certain releases and other ones that knock the release and think that they're trash. And I think that sometimes we are over like involved with the sneaker culture to the point where we think we're the commanding force behind the retros and stuff. And I think that there's a bigger picture to a lot of that stuff. It's the people that buy this shoe because they're like, oh, that's an Air Jordan 7, or they don't even know this is an Air Jordan 7. They just see it's an Air Jordan that they liked in the store, and they're able to buy it. I think that they're able to capture that market as well. So even if they don't get the hyped up, sold out like market on every single shoe, I don't necessarily think it's needed for every release because even when the shoes hit outlets, it makes news. It makes news when they go on sale. If you think about any other market out there, like I go to Banana Republic or Gap, and I usually only buy the sale items because I know eventually the stuff is going to sit and it's going to end up hitting the clearance wall, because the sell-through rate on like the same stuff sold really, really high in the beginning, and then the last handful of remaining like shirts or jeans or pants or whatever they are, they're going to sit, and then if I luck out, I might get a pair that's in my size, or something, a shirt or something in my size. But I'll wait for that outlet wall. Like most markets are like that, where they're not overly crazy high demand like what the Jordan sneaker market is, where they're able to capitalize on that every single time on every single release. So the fact that they haven't been able to do that this year in 2015, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but I think that they will want to capture that feeling still and make some adjustments in 2016. I've rambled long enough. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this bubble. This has kind of been my thoughts on it, and I took notes down. Hopefully you guys like the fact that I like try to compose my thoughts a little bit more than I usually do, which are all jumbled and all over the place. If you guys do appreciate that, hit the thumbs up button or leave a comment and let me know why you like the video or whatever. Appreciate your guys' feedback. Always look at the comments. Shout out to you guys for listening to the video if you guys listen to the whole thing, and we'll catch you guys for some more videos soon. Peace, guys.